All right, welcome back or welcome to another edition of the Sales Life. And today is my absolute pleasure. I'm totally geeking out. I have on the Sales Life podcast, Emmy Award winning Tasia Valenza. And let me tell you a little bit about how I came across Tasia. So it's early in the morning. I try to get my workout, my sweat in real early. And I'm jump roping. And I'm listening to Jordan Paris's podcast, and here's Tasia. So I'm listening to her, didn't know much about her or anything like that other than his intro. And then Tasia says something that just like, dude, totally blew my mind. And she says, I teach people to think like a voiceover artist so that way they can play their personal and professional roles better. And I was like, boom, I got to talk to her. So Tasia, welcome to the
Thank
Sales
you,
Life.
Marsh. It's a pleasure to be with you. And again, your energy and your passion is so infectious that, when you reached out through connected with Jordan, whom I love, and said, I love that. And then took what I said and extrapolated it down. It was just like, whoa, this is a real student and a master at the same time. So I was very impressed with your initial reaction and how you shared what I was sharing. So thank you so much for that. And I'm so delighted that we can now, share together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing, Tasia, one thing I always say is if the world was spoken to existence, then so too will your world. And I think many times people, they don't speak their world into existence because they pretty much accept whatever life is handed to them.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that attracts me to you and the work that you're doing is you use the number one superpower that all of us have. There's no Wi-Fi that you got to connect to. There's no online service that you have to connect. You don't have to inherit it from Big Mama. Like you get it,
Ask
and you
for it. You don't need
no.
it is completely free, accessible, and uniquely yours. And it's the most powerful communication tool that we have, our voices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so much about believing and tapping into this communication to know that not only do our voices matter, not only do we deserve to be heard, but that we can give great voice, which at its essence, in the simplest forms, means to be able to move, touch, and impact another human being with our voices.
Yeah. If saying that, Tasia, why is it today that so many people are speaking less? And I say that because, and I'll just take it into the sales world for a minute, that so much of our communication has now been placated to sending a customer an email, shooting them a text message. And I think in some ways that we do that as salespeople because we're trying to pacify or actually take the rejection first. We reject ourselves before we let the customer reject us. So why is it nowadays? Why, if our voice is so powerful, why do you think today that people aren't using the number one instrument?
Well, I think there's been such an evolution of digitization that we all thought was fantastic as it initially rolled out, right? I mean, text messaging. I mean, I'm so old that, in my old days, we always had to make phone calls, the old-fashioned pick up the phone. Well, hello there. And then, one day it turned into, oh, you can text that? That seems so cool. And then it became, and emails, and then Snapchatting and Instagramming, and the digitization created this ability to make life easier, right? Easier. But, we as humans tend to kind of scroll along, and we like convenience, and we like the ability. And also at the same time, just like you said, it's like, oh, a text rejection is far less painful than someone saying to you, sorry, not interested, or you're not, not what I was looking for. And because, the resonance of that we feel. I mean, especially as an actor or, whatever you're selling, there's a part of you that knows that it's you that feels the rejection. It might be a car, it might be a piece of paper, but ultimately there's a certain part of our ego that feels like I wasn't enough. If I had been enough or could have made that, or gotten to overcome their obstacles or their, it feels like we take it on the chin. But the more digitized it is, it's like, less, so, okay, next one. But at the same time, that then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that we then don't want to reach out. And it becomes, almost, overly assertive. It's like a phone call. I mean, who calls people anymore? That's only for robocalling. I mean, I found this to be more and more true in my teenagers growing up, where, before when kids got out of school, they all were talking with each other and clamoring. Now, kids look over each other's phones now. So the human to human contact and the what it means to us as humans, which is so important to our ability to be compassionate and empathetic, is so diminished that it has become, I think, a self-fulfilling prophecy, and the train is leaving the station. And that's my mandate, is to get it to stop and say, like, no, we need to speak to each other. We need to hear each other's voices, even if that means, sorry, I'm not interested, but hey, you've been great to talk to. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Maybe we can, connect on another level. I mean, these are such important aspects of being human. So I digress, but that's
totally true, dude. My daughter she'll text me from her room. I'm like, dude, I just saw you like 2 minutes ago and you passed by me. You don't say anything. And then you ask me for something. I'm like, no, come here. No, you're going to ask me, because you're not going to hide behind a text message if there's something because I think when you start texting, then you stop confronting. And I think confrontation has such a negative connotation,
right,
that, when you confront something, that it tends to, it's got to be all bad. No, it's not that at all. But I think if you're constantly confronting whatever the issues are, Tim Ferriss said something one time on one of his podcasts. He said the mark of success is the ability for someone, let me see if I can get this right. It's the ability for someone, the number of difficult conversations that person can have.
Oh, that's a very powerful.
Yeah. And it's like, but you got to have those conversations, and you have to be able to confront those issues and sort those things out,
If you want to have a human intimate relationship, you must. Yes. If you want to have a superficial, you keep everything very light and all the pink elephants are just flowing. Yes, that is again the mandate, that as humans, those uncomfortable conversations are the ones that, when they're done well, bring us that much closer together and weave that fabric deeper and deeper. And certainly, I look back at a lot of my friendships, and those deep relationships have been injured by social media, in that so many times now we check in via social media and are so busy that we forget to have those hour-long conversations that were the roots of our friendships. And so, to give great voice, the challenge is then is to who did I give great voice to today? What phone did I pick up to call somebody that I love, that I know I love, and they love me?
Yeah.
And say, how are you?
Yeah.
And hear in their voice how they are, as opposed to, emojiing it. So the thing is so important, is that even in our children, our relationships with our children. I mean, I just had a difficult conversation with my son last night, and he's a teenager, but it was so meaningful, because when we got through it, we hugged, and it was like, I know that conversation brought us closer together versus leaving it in the air or trying to, text it away. So yes, I really do feel that between emotional intelligence and the desire to truly connect on a heart level, text and email, they're great for the brain level, when you just need to get factual information out, or you want to, but once it starts entering the heart, to me, that's when I say, can we find another way? Can we get back to those conversations? And of course, COVID has only made that all the more apparent, because now we can't even physically touch each other. So we must use our voices to bridge that divide and overcome the isolation and the loneliness that is, and the depression that we're all feeling. Those human connections are what our lifelines are all about right now.
Yeah, and I think the well put. I think the more that you can, externally do that, and to get people on the phone and to speak to them. It makes me think about there was a buddy of mine who I lost contact with a few years ago. And Tasia, I was talking to him recently, and he was like, "Man, so we're catching up." And I was talking to him about what had happened in the last 5 years of my life, and was divorced and bankrupt and demoted. And he was like, "Oh my God!" He's like, "Bro, I'm sorry, I wasn't there for you."
Right.
And Tasia, I told him, I said, "Joe, you couldn't be there for me." And I said, "Because I ran from the conversation." And so when you would call, you did make those attempts. But when you called, I hid because I didn't want to have to reveal that I was dying inside, that things were not good. And I think do you think that's what some of the depression is with people right now, that maybe they're
afraid to share, they're afraid to be vulnerable? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, of course. I mean, because we're facing here comes my big dog.
Bring it on.
Benji saying, "Oh, you're so hard, Mom." But I do feel. I mean, I wake up transparently with a joy, and then a low level anxiety just hits me right off the bat, because I know that we're still here, and I know that we're still facing this as a community and as a society, that COVID is very much keeping us at a distance and keeping us from resuming our normal life. And so, there are times I want to reach out and call my girlfriend and just say, "God, I'm feeling anxious. How are you feeling?" Mm-hmm. And there's times I do, and then there's other times like, "Oh, I'm busy. I'll do it later," or I don't want to bother her, and she's got enough on her plate. Yeah. So I think there's a lot about that, but the funny thing, I'm moving back over here just to close it up, that, when I have reached out to a friend or even my dad, or, to say, I'm having a hard time. How are you? That connection of like, just that empathy that I get, and that someone listening to me and reflecting back, like, I understand, and I am too. And then having a laugh, or just talking it through. It's when we keep it in our minds, the mind can be a very dark place to reside alone. Yeah. So I do believe that, that's the thing about sales too, that sometimes it doesn't have to be a sales call. It could be a human call, just reaching out to a client and saying, "Hey, I haven't talked to you since COVID. How are you guys holding up? Yeah. Let's take this into the sales." That human to human connection, where there's no expectation of you giving me anything, but me just as a human reaching to you, that stays with people's minds and hearts. And you don't know that 5 years later, they're like, "That person was so incredible. Let me get in touch with that so-and-so." So, we've been talking about the human level, but when we consider it in the sales world, to be able to, and there's never a time, by the way, that when I don't reach out to see how somebody else is, that I don't feel better from that experience. Right. So when I'm anxious and I need someone to support me, just me thinking, who haven't I called? And then reaching out to a relative or somebody, a friend that I haven't talked to, and not necessarily thinking about like, how can they help me, but how can I help them? Inevitably, it lifts me up. It gives me that dopamine rush. And the same thing with a client or my agents. And I talk to somebody, we release these hormones of oxytocin, which is the love hormone, and dopamine, which is, again, because right now, I see your face and I hear your voice, and it makes me smile. We're literally releasing chemicals. And so when we use our voices to make those human connections, especially with the intention of lifting up another soul, we gain so much from that back, and we've at the same time created a human connection that will create that professional relationship and deepen it and lengthen it and deepen those personal. That's what Give Great Voice is all about. It's how do we give great voice to ourselves first, the self-speak? How do we give it to further our professional lives and create that success? And then how do we deepen the relationships, both professional and personal, that matter the most to us and that we want to deepen and grow so it reaches the next level?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Isn't it funny how when we say that we don't want to burden somebody with our problems, and lo and behold, they're thankful that you called, because people want to be of service. People actually want to help. And so we pull on the reins saying, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to, but people want to hear from you, and they actually want to try to help you in any kind of, way that they possibly can. You say that, and I love this. You say that your voice follows your intention. Yeah. And I have 3 boys. I have 1 daughter. My baby girl is my daughter. And, and the way my voice, I'm 6'3", I have a powerful voice. And so, but the way I talk to my daughter is not the same way I can talk to my son.
100%.
And I'm learning this because there are times like I'll be in the middle of recording a video, about sales, about the sales life or something like that. And she'll walk in, or I'm out in the garage and I'm working out and I'll snap. And I don't mean to, my intention was, how can I help you? But my voice does not
convey that.
No.
Right. Well, that's the idea, is that we are mostly in reactive mode, especially with people who are triggered from our closest people. And so let me share let's break down for the audience, because they don't know what I teach. The way to utilize, I've taken think like a voiceover actor to utilize the skills of a voiceover actor. So it's in real time, because it's fairly simple to take some of these notions, and the most important notions that I can offer to play our roles, both personal and professional, is to ask the 4 questions. So who am I in this particular scene of my life? Who am I speaking to? What do I want? Meaning, what's the success of either only for me, but obviously for the scene, so that both parties win? And how does my voice support that intention? So to extrapolate that, I always use my metaphors, some of the video game or characters in animation that I played. So it's very simple, but I played Poison Ivy in the Arkham games. And Poison Ivy is known by many as the seductress. She's the lover of plants and hater of humans. But because she's a seductress, because she needs to get people close enough to her lips so she can kiss them and kill them. So her venom lies. So she has a reason, but she is known as a seductress. And my voice has to intend that. Because if I was speaking to Batman, so I'm speaking, it's Poison Ivy, the villainous, or Shiro, depending on who am I speaking to. Her enemy is Batman. What does she want? She needs to get him close enough so she can kiss him and kill him. And then how does my voice support that intention? Well, I know what seduction sounds like because I've learned to play it. But if I said to Batman, come close, my friend, he might come a little bit closer. It's a very intriguing sound. But if I said, hey, Batman, come on over here, probably not coming close to me. Mm-hmm. Same thing in my life. If I say to my husband, my aspirations, who am I, adoring wife? I love my husband. My intentions are to support, to be kind, overall compassionate, sexy, all those things. I'm speaking to the love of my life. What do I want? I want him to pick up his socks for the 800th time. What do I usually do? I have a thought. Honey, will you please pick up your socks? My God, for the 800th time. Or did you remember to pick up the laundry? Did you get the dry cleaning? Oh, you did get. Oh, well, thanks, sweetheart. It's like right. we mostly are on, and of course with my kids all day long. I'm reactive. But when we have the awareness, how can I intend to ask them, well, I could just take a breath and I could say, honey, like, in other words, my husband knows exactly how I feel about him as soon as I've said his name. Honey, Harvey, the train's left the station on that conversation, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what I say after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He knows, you know, his defenses are up, the hackles are up. Or, honey, did you pick up the dry cleaning? Honey, did you pick up the dry clean? It doesn't matter the words we say. So much of it is how we say them. And that begins, people can receive it. You know, so many times I'll say to myself, I can hear what you're saying. I just can't receive it because of the way you're saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so key. And I was taught early on in sales, one of my sales managers told me, he said, Marsh, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So he said, you can say some very difficult things or some very heavy things, but it depends on the tone and the way that you say it. And so if you deliver it with the wrong tone, even though you had the right intention, Tasia, I can't tell you how many deals I blew because my tone did not match my intention. And it was a total, it was like, hey, come bail me out. So, it was a SOS moment because he had to come clean up my mess. And so I had to learn over the years of how to actually adjust my tone to match the intention itself. When it comes to and I'm playing devil's advocate here. Yes. When it comes to the intention. Okay. So if you adjust your tone to match the intention, how do you get progress, Tasia, when my daughter won't fold her towels for her bathroom? And even though I come with the right, poor Mac, I'm just picking on her today. But if my intention is, if I come with the right tone, right, because I want to keep the relationship good, I want to get something done, but if it's done over and over and over again, how do we make progress in a situation yet still have the right tone?
It is a mastery of breathing deeply every moment. Ooh. I mean, I would say if nothing else, if I remember to take a deep breath, a deep diaphragmatic breath, and calmed myself before I spoke, that alone would probably be so huge for my family, in my relationship. So often, and I don't know for you, but once I see those socks for the 800th time, or I've asked something for not, and I have that righteous indignation of how can you not when we've had the same conversation. Yeah. So part of it is literally, again, that is partly the ability to take the empathic tone and even go so far as to say, like, I know it must be so hard for you to remember to clean up those towels or clean up your room because it's just a lot and you probably have a lot on your plate, but it would mean so much to me if you could remember that, since it matters so much and I know you love me. And it's just, you probably forget. So I think it's probably, judging favorably, because that's so often, by the way, I can teach it better than I do it. But the ability to join them for a moment, to join in and say, I know it must be hard because I hate doing it for myself. But if you could, it would mean the world to me if you would be a little bit more thoughtful about it. Because either way, you can yell or not. They may or may not do it, right? I mean, and it might happen again. But to bring them along with some empathy because they're used to being attacked.
Yeah, that's good.
Could probably gain some positive energy back because at the deepest core, we all want to feel understood.
Right.
We all want to feel like, yeah, you get me, Mom. Like, it's hard for me and I'm more of a slob and I like to be this way, and that it's not personal to me, because I do take that. If you loved me, do A, B, and C because I love you and I remember to do these things for you. So that's the part that I know that for me messes up, because they don't do it intentionally. It's because they don't love me. It's just the way they are. So I don't know if that helps, but I certainly think the breath and the ability to join for a moment.
Yeah, I like that.
it helps them to feel like not just bam, 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 but more like, yeah, you get me. And so that I'm willing to come along because I feel like you see me and you hear me and you're not just always on me.
Yeah. And I like that. I think not only from a personal standpoint, but also from a professional standpoint too, especially in sales. I think it's important that we do join our customers in wherever their narrative is, whatever their situation is. So sometimes when they're very fearful, it's joining them on that road, instead of telling them what they have to do. This is what you have, and kind of jamming it down their throat and saying, well, neck rolling and all. It's joining them on that journey itself.
Yes, and then finding a way to assure them and
Yeah.
comfort them, and then guide them back that it's going to be okay,
Yeah.
and that these fears are normal. But how can we overcome them together?
Yeah. Yeah. Great. One thing about intention, before we move on with that, I think this is so important for salespeople, because there are many times, Tasia, where, and even in life, just that's why I call it sales life. There are people that they may be on an 0-11 streak. And so things just aren't going well in their life. And I think what's so important, I love these 4 questions because I think it's a quick calibration of, who am I in this scene? Who am I speaking to? What do I want? And how does my voice align with that intention or support that intention?
Exactly. In other words, do I want to be inspirational at this moment? But please go on.
No, yeah. So even when you're on an 0-11 streak, and this is something that I took the ball and just kind of ran with it, is even when you're losing, you can still bring the right intention with those 4 quick questions. You can bring the right intention to your scenario, because customers don't know how they don't know how my month is going. It's based on how I'm conveying it, right? And so if I bring the right intention, and I'm careful also, and I love what you talk about with your upspeed, that you don't, even though you're getting your ass kicked, that you don't act like you don't lack the confidence. You still bring the intention. You still keep the upspeed, and describe a little bit about what upspeed is. That's that confidence in saying, like for me, saying what a price is on a vehicle, or price on a warranty, or whatever the monthly payment is, because I'm in the car business. But what is upspeed, and how does that relate to the power of your voice and the intention?
Well, you bring up a lot. At some point, I would love to circle back about when we are on 0-11. Then really, and again, this is something that daily, that is so empowering, is the self-speak daily that we're giving ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day downloading, mostly on Shaak Ti. Most of those thoughts are negative thoughts from the day before, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. And our brain is running on a very old hard drive, and we need a software update daily.
Yeah.
So the self-speak of, that belief in ourselves that, today is an incredible day, and success, prosperity, and abundance, and many different, I have this written down in my bathroom mirror so I can start my day and intend my day. See, because we start the day with intentions. It's going to be an amazing day, and I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to go to work. And then, by 10 o'clock, something's gone wrong, and we just spiral down, right? So the idea is that we must first gain that inner self-confidence by that self-speak, the affirmations, the waking up, what am I grateful for? Because that programs ourselves for more positivity, and more positivity builds upon itself. Today, I'm so grateful that I'm going to sell 3 cars, and I'm going to have the best experiences with my clients, and honim yo, from this moment on. That's what Buddha's saying. We don't have to look behind us, because it's when we are counting that up and saying, oh my God, I'm a loser, I'm a loser, I'm a loser, I can't seem. That is the negative self-speak that we need to correct. And I do believe that half of that is not just what we think, but more importantly, that we catch that thought and then say, oh no, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I love myself. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in myself. I
Mm-hmm.
am an incredible salesperson. I can close this deal, and I am closing this deal, and it's going to be a magnificent day. You hear that conviction in my voice. That is the private, that breathing and that self-speak. And then we can take that into our clients. But if we're coming from a place of deficit where we really are faking it and we are carrying that with us, it will read through, it will bleed through.
Yeah.
So it's very important to me to first gain that inner confidence with our inner affirmations, flipping our script so that we rewrite, and the compassionate companion, that's the other. We have the confidence coach, and we can be both of those. Like, yeah, this has been a rough month, but you know what, girl, you got this. You're amazing. I believe in you. Just like you would speak, just like we talked about, to your best friend. What would you say to your best friend who had 0 and 11 before? And they said, Marsh, I need some support from you, Marsh. What would you say, Marsh? You'd be the best coach in the world. Like, what do you say to your salespeople that need your coaching? What do you say to them when they're 0 and 11? Mm-hmm. Don't you give them that inner confidence first before they go out?
Isn't that crazy though? Like we can give everybody else advice, but we don't give ourselves advice. And, one thing that, Tasia, that I do every morning is, and I write in third person to myself. And so I've written letters to myself as far as asking myself, Marsh, how you feeling? And sometimes it's as if Marsh is sitting across the room and I'll write that letter to myself and give myself advice. There are times where I go to work and the radio is off and it's as if, Marsh is sitting right there. Marsh with shoulder length hair is sitting right there. And I'll ask him, I'm like, dude, how you feeling, man? And I'll just riff. And I give myself that kind of advice because, dude, I don't think we would have any friends if we talk to our friends the way that we talk to ourselves. And we're so hard on ourselves and unforgiving. And you say that it all starts with you. It all starts with self-love.
Yes. And I literally call it, for the Give Great Voice, speaking and learning the language of self-love, which is a foreign language to most people. It's a foreign language to most people because most people would, in a second, would say, I'm an idiot, I'm stupid, I'm an imposter. Right. Before they say, I'm amazing and I love myself and I'm going to rock it today. And I believe, because again, we have these negative imprints. I think of our brains as computers, right? Yeah. And most of us are working from very old hard drives from 0 to 7 when we were programmed, unfortunately, with the best of intentions. I myself, as parents, we have the hardest job. And we get negative messaging along the way. Most people are not, don't avoid that and somehow, but it's that it stays with us until we start looking at those thoughts and start owning. Is that true? No, that's old. That doesn't really apply. And then I call learning this language of self-love. Can you learn a language in your head?
Right.
Learn French? No. So you must speak it aloud where it's very uncomfortable, just like learning a new language. It's like you're trying to get to the restaurant. Où est le restaurant? I'm willing to love myself. I'm willing to believe in myself. Even if you're not saying I am, say I'm willing to consider that. And by the way, I just want to share that I have an affirmation meditation app called Haven Guided Affirmations that is completely free, which is a tool to support that ability, that muscle to be learned, because you get to hear me and your headset guiding you through a beautiful, relaxing meditation. There's confidence mastery, there's wealth mastery, there's health mastery, so that you can start saying these positive, self-reinforcing affirmations with me, and then reprogramming this computer to update that software. So I believe you can do it on your own, but I'm here to help. Yeah. This is something I believe. And then when you talk about that upspeak and all those things, those are important, or that fast speak. But the most important is that we have that inside self-esteem, that inside confidence, because when we bring that to the table, we have much more command over our voices, because we're not spinning that negative wheel of self-doubt all the time while we're trying to fake it.
Yeah, that's so key. And everybody, I definitely urge you to download the Haven app. It is free. No matter what your situation is in life, There are so many subsections on there, and even it can go from if you want no background at all and just hear Tasia's voice, or if you want to add different scenes to the background with waters, the rains and stuff like that. Definitely get that, because and you need to back this up and listen to this again, because you cannot change your situation. It's like learning French in your head. You're never going to learn it. And you have to be able to speak that. And so many times, initially it's going to feel foreign. It's going to feel weird, because there's going to be, because we don't reflect enough. We are on a rumination loop. And so we ruminate over and over and over again. But if all you're doing is you're talking about all of your failures, you've got to take reflective edits. And those reflective edits, to me, are being able to splice into the old films of your life, saying, hey, this is where I've screwed up. Yeah, be honest with yourself. This is where I've screwed up. This is now what I can fix. Because if your eyes opened up this morning and you are breathing, then you got another chance. You're still in the game. And so download that app. I cannot stress to you enough. That will get you something. I say Tasia is like the wedge buster. In football, we had those wedge busters, and those were the guys who, on kickoff, those are the ones who went down and busted up the wedge as they were trying to block for the guy fielding the kickoff. That's what Tasia is with the Haven app. She's that wedge buster, where she's going to break open that pyramid that you see on football, hypothetically speaking, if we have a football season. But that pyramid that you actually see, she's going to break those things up. And then through the repetition, it's actually going to, I'm telling you, it's going to enforce itself.
It is my goal to help people with that, because again, that's what Give Great Voice is. There's no more important person to give great voice to than yourself, because you are your own best friend, and you must live with yourself. So if you can program yourself, everybody else benefits from you loving yourself.
Yes.
And I don't mean the egoic, oh my God, I'm great. That's not the, I mean truly loving, which means I accept myself, I forgive myself, I believe in myself, I love myself, and I am willing to learn and grow. And through that process, we can then affirm ourselves. An affirmation, Marsh, I looked it up when I was creating Haven, co-founding it and writing it with my friend. I thought it was a positive present statement. Do you know what an affirmation actually is? It's whatever we commit to and say again and again becomes whatever we affirm. So it's actually can be negative. We can have negative affirmations, and many of us do, or positive ones. So it is what we say after the words I am or I have that matter the most. So I always encourage everyone that whatever you say from this day forward after I am or I have, you say with love and passion, because it tells your future. It tells your future. So what do you want your future to be? And we all have a right to I want people to not only think thoughts, I want them to say them. I want to give permission to people to speak out loud to themselves, but it's not crazy, but only nicely. Only nicely. And I really want to express how much I love that you ask yourself how you're feeling, because that was something that we talked a lot about last night, that most of us are so numbing our feelings with our electronics that we don't actually have to feel most of the time now, because we can distract ourselves from our feelings. And from this distraction is another thing that we're almost out of touch with our feelings, because we usually look for some kind of food or, Instagram. I mean, we can find our way out of those emotions, but to actually ask and to take an inventory of how we're feeling, to check in with ourselves, that is also another way to heal ourselves, because we actually know what we're feeling as opposed to being completely disconnected. And therefore, when we are disconnected, we end up speaking in a disconnected manner, which doesn't further those important relationships.
Right on. I say you come first, and people are like, no, your kids come first. And no, you come first. If you put yourself first, then we get the best version of you.
Right.
And so many times, and I think you even said this on an interview where you were talking about Dr. Oz and what Yeah. So speak a little bit about that as far as the heart.
Yes. Dr. Oz, and especially as women, you know, a lot of us tend to overgive and just accept the crumbs because we feel that's our, you know, our responsibilities, and so many working mothers and wives and, you know, men too, but like as women, we've been so conditioned to give. And Dr. Oz, I remember this like hit me like a brick, you know, and sometimes you just know truth and you adopted it. He had said, you know, to the women, 300 women in the audience, mostly women, you know, ladies, I'm a heart surgeon and I've worked on hundreds of hearts, maybe thousands of hearts. And did you know, ladies, that the heart feeds itself before any other organ in the body, before the kidney, before the lung? It circulates through and it feeds itself first. And he said, ladies, who is the heart of the home? And they, you know, they all raised their hand and goes, ladies, how many of you feed yourself first? And like there were like two hands that went up. And he said, may I express to you that you'd be a dead body? Because you taken only the crumbs. So the metaphor to fill your cup, to fill it up till it overflows, people get the best. But when you're trying to give and you have only a few sips left of your of a drink, how can it possibly flow over? So I mean, I gave you two metaphors, but the one, you know, that the heart, we feed ourselves first, and that we now have permission, not to the exclusion where we, you know, now don't take care of anybody, but if we know that we're representing that when I feel full and I feel whole, I have so much more bandwidth for everyone else.
Yes, that's so key. I love that you said that.
And we model it for our children that they should take care of themselves too, because again, you know, they won't take what we say nearly as much as what we do.
Right. And you're teaching, you know, with noble intentions, you think that I'm going to sacrifice, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And what you're basically doing is you're teaching your kids to teach their kids the same way, that you put yourself last and you show up in life busted up, drug across the floor. And this is what you get. This is all there is in life. And it's total BS, man.
Right. And even if that means that period of time is just 10 minutes for that guided meditation, it doesn't mean it has to be like all day, you know, that I'm going to take care of I'm going to blow everything off. But to take a bit of time for yourself, to fill yourself up with that cup, what it means to be in nature, to get a run, you know, again, exercise is another form of how we can literally raise our dopamine and our serotonin, or listen to a meditation or take that guided, or just check in with ourselves and say, how am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
And what can I do to make myself feel better? Whether that's reaching out to have that phone call, or to go in the mirror and say some beautiful affirmations to yourself and look in the beautiful eyes and say, you're amazing and I love you.
Yeah.
You can do this, and you're special and you are powerful. You know, speak to yourself in that loving, you have more bandwidth. So there's always to fill up your cup, but it starts with the self-speak.
Yeah. Well, you know what I love, Tasia, is, and you obviously speak from experience with this. As an actor, you're trying to fit into a role that life wants you to fit in. And so as an actor, you're trying to manufacture this character. And so it's more of an outside in. So you're outside trying to protect the inside, but the inside is very frail, which I think is why a lot of actors are jacked up. And, you know, there's been so many years in my life that I was an actor in life where I acted like I had had it all together, when in fact I was dying inside. And what I love about Give Great Voice in the work that you're doing is, when you're a voiceover actor, they don't see you.
No.
And so it's an inside out game. And so the only thing that you're bringing to the world is your voice, but because you bring it with the right intention, the world actually conforms to you instead of, as an actor, the world, you try to conform to the world.
It's an interesting metaphor. I've never thought of it that way, but yes, you know, as a voiceover actor, you know, you're channeling all of it. And one of the reasons why I call myself a recovering actress and a fully functioning voiceover artist, because I started as an actress, was because, we're rejected all the time for what we look like. We're not smart enough or tall enough or blonde enough or whatever, thin enough. I got that all the time. And when I became a voiceover actress, it was like this liberation from having to conform to what I was told I needed to be more of, and now just channel all my energy and my passion and my talent through my voice so that I could convey and create these characters that were limitless. So that is one of the reasons why I use that metaphor more than the actor. But the actor, again, we can bring that part of us now to support our voices, because body language is important. Again, having, power posing from Amy Cuddy is so fantastic. There's science behind that. We, again, when we're saying our affirmations in the mirror, that's standing in a power pose, a V or the Superman or superhero pose for 2 minutes, literally raises our testosterone and lowers our cortisol, the stress hormone. So if you amplify those affirmations with your body language to say, like, I am empowered and powerful, you again you can hack your biology through your body by how you speak and how you stand. Because when we feel small or insignificant, studied animals, Amy Cuddy's TED Talk is so fabulous for that. And she wrote the book Presence, if you want to take it deeper. We close off, right? But we diminish ourselves. So we can actually, even if we're having a rough day, power pose for 2 minutes in the mirror alone, or in the bathroom stall if you have to. Again, right now we're all at home anyway, but most of us. But that ability to hack our biology, to feel that power surging, and then to say a few affirmations of, yes, I love myself, and yes, I believe in myself, and yes, I'm going to make this a great day. You can take that energy and whatever was spinning, that spinning wheel, you can, like you said, you can snip that film and edit into something new. Yeah. Right at that moment. Yeah. And that's what I want to share. I have anxious thoughts every day. They're not completely gone. They seep in. But what I have now that I didn't used to have is I don't follow them down the rabbit hole. I notice I'm having an anxious thought, and I become the best friend or the witness. Gosh, that's really a scary thought. Yeah, I can understand that, why you're feeling that way. But you know what? Let me take a deep breath and get to this present moment, because most of these thoughts are in the past or the future. And just affirm right now that in this moment, I'm okay. And I love myself. And I'm going to be fine in this moment. So I cut it off, where I used to just follow it down the rabbit hole. Yeah. So I can offer that to people that they don't completely go away, but they diminish. Maybe you go from 60,000 thoughts with 50,000 being negative down to 40, down to 30, down to 20, where all of a sudden you have that thought, and it's like, nope. I know that it's a thought, but I'm going to cut it off at the pass. Yeah. And it really, it's a training. There's no perfection. But if you don't know what you don't know, right? So when you know it, and now you even have a tool through the app. And then again, I tell all my clients when I work with them individually, I want you to immerse yourself in a new language, this language of love. I want you to write Post-it notes where every time you open up a drawer, it says, hey, gorgeous. I want you to to flood yourself with affirmations, so that everywhere you look on your phone or on Post-it notes, you see beautiful sayings directed at you. And then you can say it out loud. And by the way, if you can program your children young to start loving themselves, you are going to have so much happier, productive children. I always like to say that, it's like I just have less therapy bills later. But because, again, children are so amenable to this. Like, we love ourselves, and when we unlearn to love ourselves, criticism, the world. But if you start them, like telling your kids, okay, let's get into our best power pose. Yeah. Who are you? Are you Superman today? Are you Wonder Woman? Are you the Green Lantern? Let's do it together. Okay, I'm Superman today. Like, you could do that, Mark. Yeah. I don't know about your teenagers, because my kids are like, yeah, Mom, I got it. But if you got those younger kids, you can do it with them, and you will literally help them to change their thinking and correct it earlier on. It's very powerful, and it's a beautiful thing to do as a family. Yeah. Tasia, I wish I could take you. I wish I could take the camera into my daughter's bathroom. All over her bathroom mirror, I have Post-it notes that say, I love you. You're the best. You're the best daughter I've ever had. It's the only daughter I have.
but just all kind of different things. But and they're all on the side. And every time I give her something, like I'll leave them on her door, or I'll slide them underneath her door, or I'll put it on the bathroom mirror. But she's got this whole wall on the side. And that way, even when I'm not there, man, I work, 70 hours a week. There's times I don't see her, but at least I'm still there. And so even when she's having tough days, she can go right there into her bathroom and see those Post-it notes. A quick thing too, that would be very good for people too, that really helped me: go buy a dry erase marker. Mm-hmm. And you can use that dry erase marker and put your favorite quote, or "you're the best," or a big ass smiley face or heart, draw it on your mirror, anything, it doesn't matter. And then you change it the next day. Yeah. But if you would do that, I'm telling you, you'll change your whole physiology.
And I'd love to add the next one: say it aloud. Say it aloud.
That's good.
Say it aloud. It's like,
that's absolutely good.
Evangelical about it. Like, magnify it. Don't just look at it. Say it aloud, because you magnify what you're seeing. You don't just say like, "Oh, I got it." Like, I have my affirmations and I'm like, "Oh, I got this." And then I have to remind myself, no. Say it aloud with conviction, because I feel like it just juices it that much more.
Yep. I know you got to go. Two things real quick before I want you to speak to the BEADS acronym, because I totally want you to hit on that, because it's so important. It really ties in with everything that we're talking about.
Right. And anything that is not that people can't check, the TEDx talk that I gave called "Give Great Voice," a lot of the same information is there, and it's extrapolated down into 16 minutes. So after they listen to this fabulous podcast, you're like, "Oh my God, I forgot everything." You can go to the TED Talk. But
absolutely. It's wonderful too.
Thank you. That's again, my mission statement, is to get that talk out so that everyone can utilize these skills, because it's really something that I feel as humans.
And dude, you're just hitting the bucket list in life. I mean, you got a great family. You've won an Emmy, a TED Talk. I mean, it's like, boom.
Yeah, I'm not young. I've been working towards this. And by the way, 7 years from the time that I had my conviction on my LA Times article that anyone could do a great TED Talk, till the day that they told me that I got the talk. I looked at it. It was on my desk, 2013, and I did it in November. So, I
get out of here. So you prophesied that, or you wrote that?
I manifested it, and I kept that on my desk, and I took it with me when I moved, and I kept an LA Times article, and I crossed out anybody can give a great TED Talk, Tasia Valenza. But, it took 7 years of bumps and starts and stops. Yeah. So I just want to always encourage people. I look great on paper, but it took me a long time. I was
a lot of paper.
When I was 16 years old, I was on a soap opera, All My Children, Emmy nominated. I rode that train till at 50, I won an Emmy for being a voiceover artist. So, there's time. You plant those seeds, you invest in those seeds, and you don't give up. So that's, again, what I want to say. But that anybody, and BEADS, I'll leave you with BEADS. So to play the role of the courageous, confident candidate that we have to play in every form of our lives, I'm still doing it, and there's, I have to come up with it. We all have to be confident candidates, whether you have a job or not. There's a way that you're going to be a candidate. So The simplest one: to BEADS, breathe, empower, affirm, dress, and smile. So that breathing, that deep diaphragmatic breathing, which again, you can get a video, but when you have that deep grounded breath, that checks your fight or flight response, that when these things start spinning, that diaphragmatic breathing, that's what we want. You empower, you do that power pose before that night, and you're juicing yourself up in the morning before you're about to hit the sales floor or make that Zoom call. And you affirm, the A for you affirm, I have the qualities of a courageous, confident candidate. I am the top rated salesperson. I am making X number of dollars this week. I love myself. I believe in myself. And so it is. Then you dress, because again, when we feel good, you have those certain outfits, like that you're feeling sharp, and then you have the ones that make you feel like a schlumperding. Yeah. Right now we're all Zooming at home. I could be wearing jammies below, but I'm wearing a full outfit because I was like, I know I want to feel good. So again, that's the actor when we put the costume on. Is that what makes you feel good?
Yeah, I got the Crocs on, man.
I love it. And then the smile is that genuine, again, when you come, and I don't mean a fake one. I mean, when you
Yeah.
smile internally, studies again show you hack your biology. You can put a pin in your mouth for a few minutes and it tells your brain you're happy. So when you smile genuinely, not only are you warming up your own good hormones, but the first thing that someone sees on that nonverbal communication. And by the way, I've been teaching about how to give great voice with a mask on. When you smile
Yeah,
intentionally,
that's good.
your eyes smile.
Yeah.
So, again, so the beads, breathe, empower, affirm, dress, and smile. Take any of those, layer them, use as many as you can. You will be unstoppable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell me, tell the listeners what you have going on right now, and where they can connect with you.
Sure. So I'm on all the social media. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. That's how we met. I'm at TasiaValenza.com or GiveGreatVoice.com. I'm actually getting ready. I've been teaching individually and coaching, but I've gotten the opportunity now to start in I believe October, a 30-day Give Great Voice challenge, which is going to be a community to support one another. So I'm working on creating that content and making it an incredible program. So I'm truly excited about this.
What will that kind of be about?
It'll be about like basically breaking down this notion of how we can utilize these skills of a voiceover actor, but daily, like little chunks every day, so people can really start extrapolating and practicing little, as opposed to trying to take too much information in at once. It'll be a community where I give tips and that, again, for programming purposes and to start using our voices in more impactful ways, utilizing the skills. So if you want to work individually with me, great. But if some people can't, or it's, you'd rather be in the kind of a Facebook community, I'm working on that kind of a model as opposed to just a webinar model. So it's something that I'll be sharing more about, but certainly something that I'm excited to share, an opportunity to create something that is something that people will enjoy and come along on the ride with me to help them feel good.
It's so powerful, so powerful. Well, I want you to take us out. So what piece of advice can you give the listeners to apply to their sales life? Where can they start? What can they begin doing, and then rock out from there?
What can they begin doing? Well, the most important, as I said, if you can start giving great voice to yourself, and if you can think of yourself in the magnificent, multifaceted me map that you are, meaning that, think of the roles you play and think of those intentions, the aspirational intentions, as a wife, as a friend, as a daughter, as a mother, what would be the best that you could give? Warmth, kindness, commanding, authoritative with that voice of yours. And start thinking when you're speaking to someone, what do I want to do? What do I want to inspire when I'm having that Zoom call? Do I want them to feel that I'm trustworthy? Do I want them to feel that I'm capable? Do I want them to feel that I'm warm? Yes, as opposed to just, I'm going to get in there and just do it. So just having a little bit more thought and start playing with that beautiful instrument, play with what it sounds like to be a little bit more commanding, have fun with it. We imitate till we learn. So see where that power lies and maybe, back it up, channel your inner superhero or your vocal inner superhero, your Morgan Freeman, we all have them, and start playing with your voice and think of it as an instrument and know that it's beautiful. It deserves to be heard and that you matter.
That is wonderful. Amen on that. Tasia Valenza, thank you so much for being here. You are a blessing to us all. Thank you.
It is my pleasure, and you are a blessing as well, Marsh. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my passion with you and your audience.
Yes, ma'am.